Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In this video I'd like to use the new beta version of MTPredictor 7, which is what I've got here, and have a look at this TS1 cell setup here as a great example. In fact, this is a perfect example of what I call my Holy Grail trade setup. So I just want to step through this with you to see the process we use and how we look to identify these. As always, we look to the higher degree time frame. So this is a 3-minute chart of the DAX. So to start with, I'll go and load a 15-minute chart of the DAX, and what I'll do is go back before the market even opened this morning. And this is the important thing with these decision point levels, which I'm about to place on the chart, is that they are leading indicators. They are on the chart before the market even gets there. To put them on the chart is really easy. We have a pivot swing here, so I just right mouse click, do decision point, and there you can see it's on the chart there as well. I'll also put one off this low here as well, because that will be good for our target, as we'll see in a minute. And there's the decision point there. If I just scroll forward, you can see how that the market opened. Well, actually this was the high as of yesterday. It actually was backing off this 15-minute decision point high here. It then came down and made a low right at this 15-minute decision point here, which actually nailed the low absolutely perfectly. So what does this mean on the 3-minute chart? Well, if we go back to the 3-minute chart and I scroll back a bit, you can see that we have this TS1 cell set up here. Now, what is special about this TS1 cell? Well, it's special because it comes as the first correction, which is what this is, after the first move, which is what this is, of an important high or low, in this case a larger degree 15-minute high. So can you see how the decision point here tagged this high? This meant that this was an important pivot. The initial decline down here we'd consider wave 1. The initial correction here we'd consider wave 2. So why is that important? Well, if we now put the analysis on, because this is a wave 2, we now consider that the move of this would be at least a wave 3. So in other words, rather than looking to come out our first target here, we're looking to come out, if I drag across a bit, we're looking to come out at our typical wave 3 WPT. So instantly we can drag the target down to here and have our first potential target at this typical wave 3 WPT. As you see, the market is now starting to decline down. But what's special about this one is if I scroll out, you can see that suddenly we also have this lower decision point target on the chart as well. Now again, this is quite important because we'll see in a minute we can use this for managing the trade if the market gets down to this level, because this would be the larger degree support zone. So as we scroll forward, you can see the market did indeed come down and actually tag this level here. We now look at the STF, which is our indicator down here, and we see whether it's strong or weak. In this example, it's very strong because it actually had gone past our strength band here. So normally we suggest we use the ATR stop, which is our red dots here, to manage this trade. So if I zoom in a bit. So using the ATR stop would have actually held you down and actually come out at this point in time here for a lovely 6.2 R profit. But as you can see, the market did indeed come down to this 15-minute decision point level here and actually tagged this absolutely beautifully. So were there any other reasons why you might have wanted to come out at this level here and as such look to bank a little bit more profit? Well, let's have a closer look. If I take everything off now, well actually I'll just take the trade setups off, and I'll take the risk reward off, and we're left with the bare fall there. But one thing we also know from Elliott wave analysis is because this is a wave 3, if I just put the intermediate degree swings on, you can see this is a 1, 2, that was our TS1 cell, then we come down here in a wave 3. One thing we know about wave 3s is they typically subdivide into 5 waves of lesser degree. So if I go now and actually remove that, and if I put the mouse over this point here and I do Elliott wave minor, can you see how, if I scroll back to there, can you see how this decline here actually is unfolded as a beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the low right at the typical wave 5 WPT. So what that means is as this market was coming down here and we had our TS1 sell setup on, rather than looking to run with the ATR stop, we'd look to be anticipating that this move here is over, and as such wanting to bank a bit more profit. So at the very least, we'd want to be trailing the protective stop just above the bar highs. So as you can see, this would have actually stopped you out at this particular point in time. So the end result of this was an extremely good trade, because it allowed you to turn an initial risk of 250 euros into a profit of just over 2,100 euros. In other words, a risk reward, or RR ratio as we like to call them, of 8.4. In other words, the profit was 8.4 times the initial risk. In other words, 8.4 greater than the amount you had to risk to take the trade. And that's why these Holy Grail trade setups are so good, not just because you caught a very good trade, but because you managed to catch the end of the wave 2 swing. It allowed you to enter the trade with a small controlled risk initially. This is our correct position sizing here that kept our risk small and under control. But more importantly, when the move unfolded, it unfolded as a strong wave 3. In Elliott wave terms, wave 3 are the strongest and longest moves in any completed wave 5-wave sequence. So this allowed you to have the biggest profit potential for the smallest initial risk. And if I scroll out, and you can see this is where live data is at the moment, you can see the DAX is actually rallying up off this decision point level very well indeed. So the major points of this particular video is how we set up this 15-minute resistance level in advance, how we set up this 15-minute support level in advance, and as such how we managed to take our TS1 sell with the anticipated initial target of the typical wave 3 WPT. We then saw how it unfolded down into this lower support zone and noted that it unfolded as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We then decided to manage the trade more aggressively, because we know a 5-wave sequence is the end of a swing, and also we knew we're at 15-minute decision point support, and as such we could then look to lock in a larger profit. And as you can see, the result was an absolutely massive 8.6, or perhaps if it was just one tick above the high, 8.5 R. In other words, the profit was 8.5 times the initial risk. And that is an absolutely perfect example of the MTPredictor Holy Grail trade setup.